Hey yo, what up, faggots? How's all my fellow faggots doing? That's what my audience name is, the faggots. So, what's up, fellow faggots? How are you all doing today on this wonderful Monday evening? It's Thursday night.
It's not even Monday.
So, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today's video, we're gonna be talking about free will once again. This is an extension of the last video that I made, the first video on this channel, which was me talking about why I don't believe in free will. I gave my reasons why I don't believe in free will, the arguments. That was what last video was about. But today's video, I'm gonna be discussing some of the implications if free will doesn't exist. So in this video, I'm just gonna assume that free will doesn't exist, because that's what I believe. So if you do believe in free will, you can still play along and explore some of the implications if free will doesn't exist, even if you don't necessarily agree with me. But yeah, I'm gonna talk about some of the social and moral implications of there being no free will. And in the latter half of this video, I'm going to talk about why free will can be such a depressing, or I guess the lack of free will, why not believing in free will can be such a depressing thing. If you haven't watched the previous video, maybe you should give that a watch, because I'm sure I'm going to say some things in this video that will reference the last video, but I don't think it's mandatory. I don't think you need to watch the last video, especially if you already know what free will is, like the whole concept of determinism and libertarian versus compatibilism. If you already know all that stuff, then you probably don't need to watch the last video. But yeah, so let's get right into it. So the first implication, I would say, the most obvious implication of there being no free will is that life is 100% unfair. So a lot of people will say that, oh, life's not fair. That's like a corny cliche quote that everyone says. Life's not fair, man, but that's just life, innit? You just gotta keep on living, even though it's not really fair. But like, once you adopt the view that free will doesn't exist, life isn't just like a little bit unfair. It's 100% unfair. Like when you look at a homeless person and a billionaire, the only difference between these two people is pure luck. The only reason why the billionaire is where they are and the homeless person is where they are is because of pure luck. There's no skill involved, baby. It's just the reason why the homeless person is where they are is because they had unfavorable genetics and a social and cultural environment. They probably were born in poverty, or they were born with some mental illness that caused them to be homeless and poor or whatever and unable to get a job. Whereas the billionaire was blessed with great genetics, they were intelligent, they were attractive, they were blah, blah, blah. They had everything going for them. And they have everything that they want in life. I'm not saying that being a billionaire, like just because you're a billionaire, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a privileged person. Like you can be, I know it's like a cliche that money doesn't buy happiness, but it's kind of true. It's like past a certain point, money doesn't really make you that much happier. Like I saw this scientific study that said that past an income of like $70,000, like your happiness doesn't really increase past that point. Like if you make $100,000 versus $1 billion, those people are going to be like essentially the same in terms of happiness. It's not like all that extra money is going to make a difference. But obviously, if you are extremely poor and you can't afford groceries, food, water, shelter, all your basic necessities, then you're going to be suffering and you're not going to be very privileged. So I think money can make you happy to an extent, but it can only do so much. There's a limit to how much it can make you happy. But obviously, even if we grant that, it's like there is so much inequality within the world. Like some people, it's not just about money. It's about, like I mentioned before, like some people are really attractive. Like if you're an attractive person, then your life is going to be significantly easier than someone who is not attractive, because you'll have an easier time dating. Like people who are more attractive are more likely to find a partner. People who are more attractive are more likely to make friends. They're more likely, or I guess less likely, to get made fun of for how they look, so they won't have to deal with confidence issues. Like, there's so many things, like just one variable, like how attractive your face is, can influence your life greatly. And obviously there are so many discrepancies among people with different levels of attractiveness. Like some people are extremely attractive, whereas other people are not as attractive. Another example of how unfair the world is would be some people are born in wealth, whereas some people are born in poverty. I mean, you could probably make an argument that being born into an extremely wealthy family, like what makes a life valuable is not necessarily having money or having stuff. There's like this one quote where it's like, having things isn't fun, getting things is. It's almost like it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Life's about the journey, not the destination, because once you get like $1 million, it's like, okay, what now? There's nowhere to go from there. It's like once you already have the reward, it's like life is a process. That's what makes life enjoyable. It's not about getting the end result. So maybe you could argue that being wealthy is actually not favorable. Like it's better to start poor and then work your way up to wealthy. That way you have like room to grow or whatever. Okay, I'm not going to say that poor people are lucky and they should be grateful for being poor, but I was just making a point, but whatever. Obviously, there's differences, like whatever the most favorable outcome is, being poor or being rich, there's clearly one is better than the other. So there's a discrepancy there. There's some people are more privileged than other people. I mean, there's so many factors you can take into account. Like some people say being tall is like a bad thing. Like, oh, I can't find clothes to wear because I'm so much taller than everyone else. It's hard to shop for clothes. But also being tall can be a good thing because, oh, I can be a basketball player. But obviously there is some like ideal person who has everything going for them. They have the ideal genetics, the ideal circumstances, whereas other people do not. Like we all have our own struggles, our own unique struggles. But some people obviously have more struggles than other people. Like some people, like there's this one TikTok, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it and put it in the video, but...
Growing up, had anything designer, you know, my mom wouldn't let me. I think I got my first pair of Louboutins when I graduated high school. It makes me emotional, actually.
It was this joke video where, actually, I don't think it was a joke. I think this person was being genuine, but she was just basically this rich snob who was complaining about, oh, I never had this. It's like first world problems. But anywho, like obviously, even if you are an extremely privileged person, like some of the most attractive people in the world still say that they're insecure about their looks. But obviously, if you're like a super ugly person, you're gonna be even more insecure than the attractive person, so you definitely have a disadvantage. So I don't know if some people are gonna be like,
oh, even attractive people are insecure about their look, and so it's like fair.
Or whatever, but obviously that's not the case. Like, that would be ridiculous. It's just that even if you are the most attractive person, you still have some flaws. Like, nobody is completely flawless. But obviously some people are uglier than other people, and they suffer more as a result of that. Like, even if nobody makes fun of you for being ugly, which is almost certainly not going to be the case, like, people are assholes. But even if, hypothetically speaking, we live in this perfect world where nobody is an asshole, people are still going to be self-conscious about how they look. Even if nobody says anything, they're still going to intuitively, they're going to look in the mirror and be like, oh, I'm such an ugly person. Everyone thinks I'm ugly. Because that's just how humans work. Like, we're really self-conscious about these things. So yeah, some people are uglier than other people. Some people are born into like a good, wealthy family. Some people have great parents who love them, whereas other people have abusive parents who don't love them. Some people are more intelligent than other people, and they have an easier time getting jobs and impressing a girl or whatever. Like there's a million examples of how, like I could list 100 different things about how unfair the world is. Like, the world is not fair, obviously. But a lot of people still believe in fairness. But once you accept the idea that free will doesn't exist, it kind of makes you reconsider how you look at the world, because whenever you look at all these discrepancies between people, like some people are enjoying their lives whereas other people are just having a terrible time. It makes you reconsider, because you can't just say, oh, well, these people who have all this money and are privileged or whatever, they just worked hard for all their shit. They deserve it. Because that's usually what the justification is. Like, I saw this video of this billionaire CEO, like the Starbucks CEO, and he was talking about how he was like testifying in front of Congress or something. He was saying about how he deserves all the money that he has because he worked hard for it. And it's like, if you accept the view that free will doesn't exist, then it's like, no. You actually, I mean, yeah, you probably worked hard for that money, but so did everyone else. Like, you think that you're the only one who worked hard? It's like, why are you getting rewarded with all of this money? As if there wasn't luck at play. And if you don't believe in free will, then yeah, it's 100% luck. But like, this is where it gets confusing, because I think that even if you don't have free will, I still believe in fairness. Like, I think that's something that everyone intuitively values. People value fairness. So, for example, let's say someone is a bully. They like to bully all the other kids at school. They give other kids wedgies. They taunt the other kids and make fun of them, call them names or whatever. And they're just having like a great time. They're just having a gosh darn good time bullying all the other kids at school. And they're just suffering. All the victims of this bullying are having a terrible time. They're not enjoying themselves, whereas the bully is. So in this situation, a lot of people will be like, well, the bully couldn't have done otherwise. He doesn't deserve to be punished because he couldn't have done otherwise. And I would disagree because, like I said, I believe in fairness. So I think that the bully deserves to be punished. Because even though he couldn't have done otherwise, it's like all these kids that were victims of the bullying, they were suffering as a result of this bullying, whereas the bully was just having a great time. So there's a discrepancy, there's an inconsistency there. Why does the bully deserve to enjoy themselves, whereas the kids deserve to suffer? It's like, that's obviously an injustice. So I would say that the bully deserves to be punished, equal to how much he caused the kids to suffer, because that's fair. And I think most people would agree with that. I mean, maybe some people would be like, no.
Come on, man, you're better than this.
Gotta be the bigger man, bro.
You should be the bigger man. You shouldn't bully the bully, so to speak. And I can see that perspective. But something to consider is that, because like a lot of people make this mistake when they first realize that free will doesn't exist. They think that whenever somebody criticizes another person for doing something, like if someone criticizes someone for bullying, then we like to say, oh, you shouldn't criticize them because they have no free will. They were always going to bully. They didn't have a choice. But what they fail to realize is that the person criticizing the bully also doesn't have free will. So it's like, you can't really criticize them for criticizing the bully because they couldn't have done otherwise either. But you also can't criticize yourself because you don't have free will either. It's like, under the view that there is no free will, there really is nobody to blame. Like, you can't point the blame at anyone, which is like a weird thing because everyone naturally wants to blame. So like, whenever something goes wrong, we always want to point the finger. But that doesn't mean that, like, I still believe in fairness. I still believe, like I said before with the bully example, if somebody is just enjoying themselves, having a good time, it's like, I believe in, like, perfect equality. Well, maybe I wouldn't say perfect equality because I still value, for example, my parents more than I would a stranger. So I would treat them better than a stranger. But that doesn't mean that I don't care for the stranger. It's just that I value some people more than others. But like when we're talking about strangers, like I'm basically a utilitarian when it comes to strangers. So let's paint an example. If you had to kill one person versus two people, but the one person was my mom and the two people were random strangers, then I would say probably I would kill the two random strangers because I care more about my mom than like what's for the greater good. Because that's what utilitarianism is. It's just like, you always do what's for the greater good. But obviously in that example, killing the two people is not for the greater good. But in that example, since I have a personal stake in the matter, my mother, my decision is not going to be utilitarian. But if you put me in a scenario where I had to kill two random people versus one random person, then obviously kill the one random person. So I'm utilitarian when I don't have personal stakes in the matter, if you get what I mean. So same thing here, like I believe that the world should be 100% fair. I don't see why one person deserves to enjoy their life more than another person. And that's like the metric that I use to determine privilege because like I said before, just having money, like if we became a communist society and gave everyone the same amount of money or whatever, I don't know how communism works, but that's my impression of it. If we just became this communist society and gave everyone the same amount of money, that wouldn't really make it fair because, like I mentioned previously, some people are more attractive than other people, and that can psychologically make your life a lot better. So it's not like money is the only metric to determining how privileged a person is. So in an ideal world, it's like everything would be exactly the same, but that would be extremely hard to pull off. But I'm just saying in an ideal world, because that's just something that I intuitively value. I value fairness. With a caveat, with an asterisk, obviously, I'm not going to make the world fair at the expense of myself or my family or people who I love and care about, people who are close to me. Because that's just how humans work. We are selfish inherently, but we also have the sense of empathy and the sense of like doing the right thing. So it's kind of like a balancing act. You have to balance your desires. Like I said in the last video, you have competing desires. But anywho. It's kind of funny how most people in the world, if you asked everyone, if you did a survey and asked people if fairness is something that they valued, I'd imagine that most people would say that they do value fairness. But when you look at the world around you, obviously the world is not fair. If you say that free will doesn't exist and you go on to say that you believe in fairness, then that doesn't really make any sense because there are so many things that you could be doing right now to make the world fair. Like the world is extremely unfair. Some people are suffering so much. There's probably some people who are like getting tortured right now in some third world country or something. where like slavery is still a thing. Because I'm pretty sure like slavery is still a thing in modern times. We like to think, people in America like to think that, oh, slavery, that's like something that happened in the past. When in reality, it's happening like right now. I heard a statistic that there's more slavery today than there has been ever in the history of ever. I don't know if that's true, but that's just what I've heard. Like, furthermore, there are some people who are literally like starving to death in like Africa or whatever, or dying of AIDS, babies dying of AIDS in Africa, and people struggling with mental health issues. Like, there's so many bad things happening in the world that you could literally, like, you could sell all of your possessions and donate all of your money to charity to help fix these injustices. But of course you don't. Most people don't do these things. Even people who do donate to charity, like, they don't donate all of their money. Like, if you truly believed in fairness, while also holding the belief that free will doesn't exist, then that is what you would do. You would get rid of all of your money. Like, there's literally people in Africa who are starving to death and have a disease and barely have access to water. They don't have any access to technology. While you're over here, you have plenty of access to food, water, shelter. You have all this technology at your disposal. Like, you have such a privileged lifestyle. And you could literally neutralize it. You could put in the effort to make the world actually fair so that everyone has the same privileges, the same access to food, water, shelter, or whatever, like access to like play on an Xbox and play video games. Because like that's something that a kid in Africa would never be able to do. Like, why do you deserve to play on an Xbox and play all these video games while the kid in Africa has to worry about, oh, when's my next meal gonna be? It's like, it's so unfair. Like, if you actually believed in fairness, and this is what you would do, you would spend all of your time trying to make the world fair. But obviously, people are selfish. Like, most people are not doing this. They don't spend all their time trying to make the world fair. So I think there's like some cognitive dissonance going on there. Like, on the one hand, they say they value fairness, but then their actions say otherwise. Like, they don't spend all their time trying to make the world fair. But I guess you could just say that, okay, fairness is something that I value, but it's not the only thing that I value. So just because I don't spend all of my time trying to make the world fair, that doesn't mean I don't value it, but whatever. But I think there is this like implicit assumption among people that the world is, excluding like extremely, like obviously it's not fair that some kids are born in Africa and starve to death or whatever, while other kids are born in this extremely privileged environment. Obviously, that's not fair, but if you were born in a developed country, in a developed nation, there is this implicit assumption that, okay, some deserve more than others. Like, when you achieve things in your life, a lot of people justify it by saying, oh, they worked hard for it. They deserve it because they worked hard for all their shit, or whatever. But this justification doesn't work because, like I said in my last video, some people have a greater desire to work than other people. And that's something that is not a choice. It's embedded into people through either your genetics, through evolution, or through like social conditioning. Like, both of those things can play a role in like how motivated and driven of a person that you are. Like, for example, if you were born in a good family, a good loving family where your parents loved you very much and encouraged you, then obviously, psychologically, you're going to be a much more motivated person. You're going to probably achieve a lot more in your life than someone who didn't have those good parents. And obviously, there's going to be outliers. Like, you could probably provide so many examples of someone who had a terrible childhood, and yet they succeeded so much. But it's like, these are just outliers. It's like for these people who are outliers, who had a terrible upbringing, and yet they still succeeded, the only reason they did is because probably of their genetics. Like, if you have amazing muscle building genetics, like there's this one guy, Julian Fitzgerald, he's this guy in the fitness community, and he's extremely jacked. But when you look at him train, he like trains like such an idiot. Well, no offense, but like he looks like a gym novice. Yet when you look at his physique, he looks like this huge expert. But like the thing is like if he actually trained correctly, then he would be even more jacked than he already is. Because that's how amazing his genetics are. Like, all of these outliers, like people who succeed even though they had a terrible upbringing. It's like, imagine how they would have turned out had they had a good upbringing. They would have been even greater than they were. Another thing about these outliers is that a lot of these people who say, oh, I had a bad childhood, but it's like, you could argue that, like, there's that cliche, like,
my uncle molested me when I was 9. No. This isn't a victim story, okay? I'm glad he did it.
Like, there's a lot of people who say, oh, I'm glad that I got bullied because it taught me a lesson or whatever. So it's like, even if you had a bad upbringing, it's like, maybe that actually helped you. So in that case, like, it wasn't really a bad upbringing, it was actually good. Another implication, if free will doesn't exist, would be that all prisoners are innocent. A lot of people will mention how if free will doesn't exist, then that would just make all prisoners innocent because they didn't really have a choice. They were always, like, all the murderers, rapists, and bank robbers, they were all gonna murder and rape and rob banks. Like, they couldn't have not done those things. So by imprisoning them and punishing them, you're essentially just punishing innocent people, essentially. So that's a pretty profound implication. I think that, like I was talking about in my bully example before, like, I think that some people genuinely do deserve to be punished. Like, if you're enjoying yourself while you murder people, then you probably deserve to be punished, because that's fair. So yeah, I think to some extent, these people do deserve to be punished. But there's also many examples of people who do bad things, but they do it because they've essentially been punished, so they're just serving justice to the world. Like, there's so many examples. Like, I'll give a recent current events example. School shooters. There's this whole debate in the school shooter community there's a whole debate in, like, politics, I guess. I don't know if this is political. I don't want to get too political. That's controversial. I don't give a shit. There's, like, a whole debate between, like, the libtards and the conservatards. So libtards, they think that school shooters, they essentially hold a view that free will doesn't exist. Probably without even realizing it, because they're stupid fucking idiots, like most people. But yeah, the libtards, they think that school shooters, the reason that they do school shootings is not just because they're pure evil and they're possessed by the devil. They think that there's a reason why they committed that school shooting, which is that they got bullied, or they were depressed because of social media, because now everyone's antisocial nowadays, and we're radicalized by the internet, and that causes them to commit a school shooting, so it's not really their fault. And then there's the other side, which is like the conservatard side, where the conservatards say that, oh, yeah, it may be the case that they got bullied or they were depressed or whatever. Yeah, they were depressed, whatever, man, doesn't matter. They still had a choice. They had a choice in the matter. They could have chosen not to do the school shooting. So that's like the two sides of the debate. And obviously I would fall onto the libtard side because I don't believe in free will. I think that school shooters, obviously there's a reason why they do the school shooting. There is no choice in the matter. But that isn't to say, because there's two different types of school shooters. Like, some people do school shootings because they just want to kill the faggot boys. Like, I'm not saying I would be a school shooter. I mean, I'm not in school anymore, but that doesn't mean you can't be a school shooter. But if I were to be a school shooter, obviously, I'm not going to kill all the people who were nice to me. I'm not going to kill that one girl who sat next to me in class who was always kind to me and nice to me or whatever. Obviously, I'm not going to do that because I'm not a psychopath. I'm going to kill the faggot boys who wear a chain around their necks, because fuck those pieces of shit, you fucking gay-ass bitch.
Okay, editing Tyson here. I just want to make it very clear that I'm not actually going to murder anyone. I am not going to do a school shooting. I was just saying if I had to do a school shooting. Like, when people play that one game, marry, fuck, kill, they don't actually mean that they're going to kill someone or that they're going to marry someone or whatever. Same thing here. I'm not actually going to do a school shooting. So please don't raid my house, FBI. I'm a totally normal, functioning person in society who's just doing a fun little thought experiment. So yeah, back to the video.
It's like, obviously everyone has thoughts of violence. Like, it's literally human nature to have, like, the reason why we have the desires we have is because of evolution. Because if you weren't a violent individual, you wouldn't have survived in the past. You had to be ruthless and have these violent instincts. Otherwise, you wouldn't have survived, because it's survival of the fittest, blah, blah, blah. But yeah. So that's one type of school shooter, someone who's essentially just serving justice. They're just, like I said before, like, being fair. Like, if you're gonna bully someone and make them suffer while you're enjoying yourself, and then eventually the victim bullies you back by shooting you in the head, I mean, I'm not gonna say that's fair, because if you bully someone and then you murder them as a result, obviously that's a step too far. But if someone punches me in the face and I punch them back, it's like, okay, most people would agree that that's pretty fair, man. I mean, obviously there's empathetic people who wouldn't do that, but a lot of people would say that's a reasonable thing to do, because it's just like tit for tat. Like, if you punch me, I'm gonna punch you, okay? So there's those types of school shooters, but there's also the type of school shooters who are just literal psychopaths who, they just don't care about anyone. So, like, I mean, I don't know if these school shooters even exist. Like, I feel like most school shooters are bullied and depressed and whatever. It's like when you realize that free will doesn't exist, when you start believing in this, it kind of does make you rethink all these people who you hate. Like, obviously, when you see this pedophile rapist person on the television, your instincts say, oh, let's hate this person. They're an evil person. And yeah, I agree. It's like, that's what your instincts say. But when you think about it rationally and logically and set your emotions aside, it doesn't really make sense to hate on these people, because I'm sure most of these people who commit these horrible things, like, there's no way they didn't have a bad childhood or have some trauma or is essentially just like a psychopath. Like, if someone, like, a psychopath, from my understanding, are just people who lack empathy. Like, most people have this sense of empathy, but psychopaths do not. They literally only care about themselves. But is that their fault? Like, if you're an empathetic person, how are you going to look at a psychopath and not show empathy for them? Because, like, that's psychopathic behavior. You're criticizing them for being a psychopath when you're indeed being a psychopath. Like, if you're an empathetic person, which I think most people are, you have this sense of, like, oh, I care about other people besides myself. Then when you realize that free will doesn't exist, and, like, the only reason why a psychopath is doing all these bad things is because they just don't care. It's like, imagine if you didn't care about someone. Like, you literally just didn't care about anyone besides yourself. You only pretended to care about other people because it would ultimately benefit you. Because that's what psychopaths do. They manipulate people, pretend like they care about them when in reality they don't. But it's not really their fault. It's like, it's not their fault that they're a psychopath. They didn't choose to be a psychopath. Nobody chooses anything. We are the way that we are, and that was determined, probably, or random. Either way, there's no free will. So yeah, anywho, back to the prisoners. So I don't think we should punish prisoners per se. I think obviously we need to quarantine them off. There's a good analogy by Robert Sapolsky in his book Determined, where he says that prisoners are essentially like sick children. Like, when your child is sick, you don't punish them for being sick. But that doesn't mean you let them go with the other kids in class. Like, you have to quarantine them off from the rest of the kids. But it's not like you're punishing them. Obviously, it's not the child's fault that they're sick. They didn't choose to be sick. In the same way that prisoners didn't choose to be bad people. They just happened to be that. There was no choice in the matter. But we still can't keep them with the rest of society. We have to quarantine them off. We have to imprison them. But we shouldn't punish them in the same way that you wouldn't punish a child, because it's not their fault. I believe that instead of punishing prisoners, we should reform them. There's like the difference between retributive justice and reformative justice. And I believe that we should do the latter. If we accept the fact that free will doesn't exist, then I think we should be more reformative and try to be more wholesome. Because I think that's just better. And there's already like some countries, I think like Sweden and like other Nordic countries, employ reformative justice systems. So they don't punish their prisoners, they reform them and try to make them useful members of society. And I think that's better, and it aligns well with the idea that you don't have free will. So I think that's good. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about why determinism is depressing. Because determinism, a lot of people, when they first realize that free will doesn't exist, especially speaking for myself, like, I was really depressed when I first realized that free will doesn't exist. And I'm going to go over some of the reasons why that's the case. Okay, so why is free will so depressing? Let's get into it. Okay, so the first reason why free will is depressing is because people like to take pride in their achievements. People have main character syndrome. They want to think that they're so special and so important. They have this ego about them. Everyone, when they're young, thinks that they're the main character, that they're the protagonist, and everyone else is just an NPC. But when you realize that free will doesn't exist, and that you're essentially just a meat robot, programmed by evolution to just do what you want to survive, it doesn't really make you feel special. Whereas if you do believe in the free will paradigm with like a soul and...
No, I believe that God made my soul and I'm so special or whatever.
If you believe in that, that aligns with your desire, with your ego. It aligns with what you want. Obviously, the idea that free will doesn't exist doesn't align with your ego desire. That's what I'm calling it. Your ego desire. Your desire to take pride in your achievements. Because like, if free will doesn't exist, then it's like none of your achievements are really your own. Like, all of the things that you have achieved throughout your lifetime, none of them were your doing. It's all luck, no skill, baby. It's like you didn't really do anything if free will doesn't exist. And that's obviously a hard pill to swallow. Like, nobody wants to believe in that. That's depressing AF, bro. I think this is one of the main reasons people don't want to believe in free will, because people are just narcissistic, fucking main character syndrome, loony boobies. Everyone's just, whether you admit it or not, like everyone has this ego, this level of narcissism to them. Yeah, like some people are more narcissistic and ego-driven than other people, but everyone has this ego. It's what helped us survive in the past. Like if you didn't think that you were literally the main character, and you were so important, you were put here by God, you were destined, or whatever. I mean, you are destined by the laws of the universe, but not by like some powerful godlike being or whatever, or maybe you are. I don't want to assume things, but I don't think that's the case. And if you don't think that's the case, if you think that you're just essentially a random clump of matter, then it doesn't align with your desires. So how can you cope with this? But one thing that I've came up with is that, okay, all of your achievements in life, all your successes, they weren't really your doing. And that's a depressing thing to realize. But at the same time, it's like none of your failures are your fault either. So if you're like a failure and you've failed a lot in life, then knowing that free will doesn't exist, it can almost make you feel better about yourself. Because when you look at all these people who around you who are more successful than you and are achieving so much in their stupid lives, but then you realize that, well, actually, none of these people really did anything. Like, all they did was get lucky. They didn't really achieve anything.
Side note, this guy looks like ASI. Just thought I should mention that.
And all of your failures, because you probably have a lot of failures. If you're watching this, I mean, I'm assuming if you're 30 minutes into this video, you're probably a loser, I can't lie. It's like, imagine listening to this video. This video has no views, you fucking loser. I mean, I shouldn't be talking because I'm also a loser, but...
Whatever.
Yeah, knowing that none of your failures are really your fault, and that all the people who you're jealous of, they're really just lucky little bitches. They didn't do anything, bruh. So maybe that can help. I mean, I think it's all relative. Like, knowing that free will doesn't exist, it can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. Like, if you're a super successful person, and you're on top of the world, baby, you've achieved so much in your life, you're the greatest basketball player of all time, LeBron James, then knowing that free will doesn't exist, obviously that's not going to be good for you. Because you have achieved so much, it's going to undermine all of your achievements. And there's really no upside if you're like a successful person and you've barely failed in your life. But if you're like a failure, then learning that free will doesn't exist, it can almost be comforting. But even then, I still think that overall it's a bad thing. For most people, learning that free will doesn't exist is a bad thing. And I know that a lot of people would disagree with that. Like, a lot of people try to cope with the fact that free will doesn't exist and say, actually, it's not really that bad. Actually, I'm actually glad knowing that free will doesn't exist. And I don't understand these people at all. It's like, how can you be glad? Like, the way I see the world is through, like, desires. Like, a perfect life would be one where you fulfill all your desires. And knowing that free will doesn't exist, it does not fulfill your ego desire. Your desire to take pride in your achievements and to feel prideful of what you've done in this life. Even if you are a failure in life, like, I think that most people have this false perception of themselves. I think that most people think of themselves as being better than they actually are. Because I'm sure there's some evolutionary reason why we think of ourselves as being better than we actually are, because it helped us survive in the past, to be delusional, essentially. Like, people think that they're more attractive than they actually are. I'm sure there's like scientific studies that show this. And I think looking at your own personal experience, like, most people think that they're the main character. But when you look at it from an objective standpoint, that's most of the time, for most people, that's not the case. You're not the main character. You're actually just an NPC, bruh. But obviously, thinking that you're just an NPC, that's not a healthy mindset to be in. So most people are delusional. Like, I think I'm the main character. That's how I see the world. But when I look at it from an objective standpoint, like, there's so many times when I look at myself, compare myself to other people, and I realize, actually, I'm just a fucking loser. I'm not actually the main character. And that makes me feel sad. It's like, that's why I try not to think about it. It's probably not a good mindset to be in. Which is why, again, not believing in free will is a bad thing. Even if it's delusional, even if you are delusional and free will doesn't exist, believing that it does, I think it's ultimately better. At least for this desire. But okay, let's move on to the next reason why free will is depressing, or the lack thereof. The next reason is that determinism makes life seem dull and predictable. Because people desire novelty and new experiences. People want a sense of mystery, and determinism undermines that. Let me give a personal story. So when I first realized that free will doesn't exist, I started to have an existential crisis. Because at the time, I was an artist and I made digital art. I was trying to become like a professional artist, and I didn't ultimately become an artist because one of the reasons is because I just saw it as being like completely pointless. There was a lot of AI art at the time when I was an artist. Every time I went on Instagram to get inspiration from all the other artists, I would just see all these AI creations. And they were really good. It's like so many AI art that I saw was so good. Literally like professional grade level art. And then to make these creations, all you have to do is just type a prompt, like 10 words, and it can create some amazing art. And I've created some myself using like ChatGPT. Like you can go on ChatGPT and say, hey, draw a picture of a horse riding a donkey. And it would probably create a really good picture. I mean, it's not perfect, but ChatGPT, that's not specifically for creating art. I'm sure there's many AI platforms that can create art specifically, whatever. The point is, I just saw myself as like a robot. Because that's what I think we are. I mean, if determinism is true, that's what we are. We're essentially just biological robots programmed to survive, to put it crudely. Like, you may not like that, but that's what I think we are. And honestly, it's like a lot of people who get upset about the fact that we're robots. Like, why are you even getting upset? It's like as if you can be anything else. Like there's a lot of people who believe in free will and God and whatever. Like that's like, there's like the whole divide where like, okay, you're either an atheist and you don't believe in free will, or morality is subjective. Whereas the other side is like God believers who believe that in objective morality and that you do have free will and a choice or whatever. That's like the two sides, roughly speaking. Obviously, I'm overgeneralizing. I'm sure there's some people who do believe in God, but don't believe in free will, like the Calvinists. So like the people on the God-believing side, they say about how, oh, you just think that we're a robot.
That's literally what these atheists think. They just think that we're robots who are, we're just, robots. That's what they think.
And it's like, yeah. My response to that is like, what the fuck else would we be? It's like, if we're not robots determined to do what we're gonna do, programmed to do whatever we're gonna do, then what are we? Because again, back to my last video, your choices are either determined by your programming or they're just random. Because I see no other alternative. And it's like, does it make you happier knowing that your choices are randomly generated? It's like, that doesn't make you feel special or whatever. It's just like, oh, that's just randomness. There's nothing special about that. It's like the fact that the world is determined, you should be thankful that the world is the way that it is. If it is determined, which I'm pretty sure it is, like the reason you can know anything is because we live in this deterministic reality where there are laws of physics that are consistent and unchanging as of now. Maybe they're subject to change in the future, but for like a long time, the world has been consistent. And like the only reason you can do anything and know things, like when I drop my phone, I don't expect it to fly in the sky or to move sideways to the left. It's gonna fall down to the ground because that's what it does every time, because there's this deterministic law of physics that says whenever you drop something, what goes up must come down, or whatever Isaac Newton says. It's like there are laws. And that's how we can understand things, because imagine if the world was random. Imagine if every time you dropped an apple, sometimes it went up, sometimes it went down, sometimes it went into your face. Like imagine that was the world we lived in, where everything was just random and nothing was consistent. Then you wouldn't be able to do anything. Everything would be so unpredictable. Like if you stabbed someone, it's like for all you know, you could be giving them a hug, because that's what randomness would look like. So you should be thankful that the world is deterministic and that we are robots.
It's like we're blessed, brother.
God bless. Thank the Lord that the world is deterministic, because if it wasn't, chaos would ensue. So yeah, when you look at it that way, like determinism isn't really that bad. If the world wasn't deterministic, that would be a much worse world. But humans aren't rational creatures. We're inherently irrational, and we like a sense of mystery. Like I was saying earlier, we desire novelty and new experiences. But why do we desire this? Well, because the reason we desire everything is because it's ultimately good for our survival. And you might be asking, okay, why is desiring new experiences good for our survival? Well, there's a couple reasons that evolutionists theorize. If you desire new experiences, then you're going to explore new lands and you might find new food. A new food source, you might find a water source, and you're going to want to explore new behaviors. All of these things can increase your likelihood of survival. That's why we have this sense of novelty. Like, that's why we get bored. Whenever you're bored, like, that's just the desire for novelty. In order to not be bored, you have to do something that interests you. and then the boredom goes away. That's why we feel this sense of boredom. It's like when you're hungry. Hunger is just the desire for food. And when you have this deterministic outlook on life, it can make the world seem boring because it makes the world seem predictable. Because determinism says that the world is set in stone. Like there is no chance that anything can happen. There is only one way that the future can go. And obviously that seems kind of depressing. It seems like this is where my existential crisis started coming, because anytime I want to achieve something in my life, I always think about how formulaic it seems. Like, for example, if you wanted to gain 10 pounds of muscle, how do you achieve that? Well, you have to go to the gym 3 times a week and do 3 sets of 12 of this exercise and eat 825 calories exactly and sleep 8 hours a night. It's just like you just tick off all the boxes. Like for any goal that you have, there's like something that you must do, obviously. And it just seems so robotic, and it doesn't seem like you're really achieving anything, because it just seems like, well, anyone can do this. Anyone can just follow the formula. Like, as long as you just do what you're supposed to do, you're going to get the answer. There's no sense of, like, mystery. There's no sense of, like, oh, I wonder if I'm going to be able to achieve this. It's like, whether you achieve it or not is already determined. And that just seems very boring, and, like, and again, back to the ego desire. It doesn't feel like you're actually achieving anything. It just seems, like, so robotic. And that can be a depressing thought, obviously. And that's like whenever I was creating my art, when I was having my existential crisis, all I was doing was just copying the reference photo. I had a reference photo and I was trying to replicate it to the best of my ability. And it just felt so robotic. It's like, I'm just being a robot. That's all I'm doing. I'm just being a poor robot. Because like, obviously AI art could replicate this easily. So like, what's even the point? I just started questioning, like, what's even the point of this art? And it's not just art, it's like everything that you do is it's like you're just being a robot. There's this illusion that we have this soul to us or whatever. And I can understand like where that thought comes from. Like I do think it's a healthy mindset to think that you are this human being with a soul or whatever. Whatever that even means. It's so undefined. It doesn't really make any sense. But like, it doesn't have to make sense as long as it makes you feel special inside, and that's all that matters. It's just about satisfying those desires. Like when I was a kid, I used to have a lot of goals. I used to have a lot of dreams about, for example, I wanted to be a baseball player. Whenever I went to MLB games as a kid, I always dreamed of like, oh, one day I'm going to be in the MLB. I'm going to play in the MLB and I'm going to be the greatest baseball player who ever existed. And I'm sure there's many kids who had dreams like this, like, oh, if you liked basketball, you dreamed about being the best basketball player who ever lived. And when you're a kid, you're constantly surrounded by adults who are like encouraging you, at least I was. A lot of adults around me were like encouraging and saying, yeah, you can achieve anything you want as long as you work hard enough. Like, I'm sure there was some professional athlete who I saw in a commercial who's like, oh, if you work hard enough, you can achieve anything. Remember that, kid. Even though now that I'm older and have this deterministic outlook on life, I see that as being ridiculous. It's like, no, whether you achieve a goal is not, it's entirely out of your hands. Like whether you achieve something or not, it's not really up to you in your hard work. Like there's so many people who can work hard and not be in the MLB and not be the greatest baseball player who ever lived. And that's why I think determinism can be very depressing. It's like, even though it's delusional, I think it's healthy to have these big goals. Because a lot of our enjoyment in life isn't about achieving the goals. Like once you became the greatest baseball player in the world, I'm sure it's like a great feeling. But just thinking about, oh, one day I will become the greatest baseball player, like that can bring a lot of enjoyment. But I don't really feel that nowadays because I have this realistic outlook on life. I don't have these big dreams anymore like I used to. Like when I was a kid, I was super delusional and I genuinely thought if I worked hard enough, I could become Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I genuinely believed it. And I enjoyed my life so much more then. Like, life was so magical back then. Like, there was so much mystery to the world, but now it's just so depressing and boring and, like, robotic. I don't know what else to call it other than just, like, robotic. Like, that's what determinism makes me think of. It's just, like, things are just operating under these strict laws or whatever. It's not magical. Like, that's what people want. That's why people, like, I believed in Santa Claus. Even though now that I'm older, I see that's completely ridiculous and makes no sense. Like a bearded man flying in the sky with a reindeer, like that's fucking ridiculous. But I didn't care. It's like I liked believing in Santa Claus. Like that was a magical experience. And I wish I still did. Like I envy people who can believe in God. It's like, I'm sure that is like very good for your mental health to believe in God, even though I think it's completely delusional. And it probably doesn't even, like, it wouldn't be able to make sense to me because I have this rational outlook on life where I see everything with this rational, critical lens. And it's not a healthy mindset to be in. Like, it's better to be delusional. But obviously it's not better for everyone. Like, if you have a delusional outlook on life, then it might be good for you. You're just living in fairy tale land and enjoying yourself. But it's not good there's many examples you can think of. Like, for example, if you thought that all plants were capable of suffering, like every time you stepped on a patch of grass or mowed your lawn or trimmed your hedges, you would be causing the plants so much suffering because they are conscious and they feel in the same way that humans do. Like, it would be like cutting off a human's arm. Every time you trim your hedges, you're cutting off someone's arm. Imagine if that was true. That was just a true fact. Obviously, that would be extremely shitty for someone because I do care. I'm not a psychopath. I do care about the well-being of other people. And if I knew that grass was conscious, then every time I stepped on grass, I would be like, oh no, I'm causing so much suffering. It would make me feel bad inside. It wouldn't align with my desires. So in that scenario, it would be better for me to be delusional. Like, even if it was true that trees are conscious and plants are conscious and grass is conscious, and every time you step on them, they feel pain, even if that was true, it would be objectively better for you to not know that fact. Like, even though you don't have free will, I think it would still be better on an individual level for people to believe in free will. But obviously, I don't give a shit. It's like now that I know that free will doesn't exist, even if I think it's worse for, like, on an individual human level, I don't care about humans solely. I care about the greater good. So I think that we should tell everyone, because if everyone thinks that free will exists, then everyone is going to live their life as if it exists. And obviously that's problematic because if you believe that free will exists, then whenever someone does something bad, you're going to punish them for that and you're going to feel justified in doing so. When in reality, it's like if you were this perfectly moral person, you wouldn't punish anyone because you would understand that everyone is just a product of their circumstances and nothing is really anyone's fault. Like, nobody necessarily deserves anything. And since humans have, like, all the control, we have all the power and control over the world. Like, I don't believe in a higher power. I think that humans are the higher power. Like, we are essentially God. Like, whatever we think is the right thing to do, like, that's what's gonna happen. Like, we have ultimate control and power. And I fear that if we don't know what's actually true, then we're going to use our power for bad. Like, if you think that you do have free will, you're going to punish people who do bad things. And you're going to think that they deserve it, when in reality, they don't. So I think it's important that everyone knows that free will doesn't exist. Even though I definitely think it's objectively worse. Like, my life has been objectively worse since I started believing in free will. I mean, that there is no free will. I mean, obviously, I don't want to sound dramatic or anything. It's not that bad. Like, people nowadays are so privileged. Like, we take for granted so many things. Not believing in free will nowadays, you can get away with it. Whereas in the past, probably not so much. Before advanced technology and medicine and whatever. So many things that we take for granted, but yeah. Okay, so how can you cope with the fact that determinism makes life seem boring and dull and predictable? So let me bring back a concept I mentioned in the last video I made, which was the difference between perceived randomness and actual randomness. Okay, so let me give an example to explain the difference between the two. So let's say that you were rolling a pair of dice. When you roll a pair of dice, it's the common belief that rolling a pair of dice is a random event. Like, when you roll a pair of dice, it seems like the dice can land on anything. Like, it can land on a 12 or snake eyes or a 6. Like, it can land on whatever. That's what people think. But this is an example of something that is perceived randomness, not actual randomness, because the dice throw isn't actually random. It's like, it's still determined. Like, if you could calculate all of the variables in the dice throw, like how much spin you gave the dice, what were the wind conditions on that day? How much force did you give the dice when you threw them? What was the distance between your hand and the table? It's like, if you could calculate all of the things in the dice throw, you could know with 100% certainty what the dice were going to land on. But obviously we can't calculate these things, so when you throw a pair of dice, it seems like it can land on anything. But the key word there being seem, it's like, it's not actually random. It can't actually land on anything. Because that would be genuine randomness. Like, genuine randomness says that there is genuinely a possibility that, like, anything can happen. But determinism says like, no, there's like a 100% chance that something will happen. But anywho, that's the difference between perceived randomness and actual randomness. But the reason I bring this up is because, yeah, it might be true that we live in a deterministic reality and like your entire life is already set in stone and there's really nothing you can do about it. But you still have this illusion of free will, this illusion of like randomness, like the illusion that anything can happen. Even though that's not actually true, like determinism says that whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Like there's nothing you can do about that. But obviously from your point of view, from your POV, you have free will. It's like from your point of view, it feels like anything can happen. And I feel like that's valuable, even though we do live in this deterministic world where everything's set in stone. It's like you still have this illusion of randomness. It's like people give this is like a popular analogy that people give. People say that your life is like a movie. So when you go to watch a movie, obviously the movie has already been made. So it's determined. But you still go to watch the movie because even though the movie is already set in stone, like whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Whatever person in the movie is going to die or not die, it's like that's already been determined by the people who made the movie. But obviously you're not the people who made the movie. You have no idea how the movie is going to end. So it's like, it's still worth watching. There's this illusion that anything can happen. Obviously that's not actually true. Like whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Just like in real life, like whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But that doesn't mean that life isn't worth living because you still have no idea how your life's going to turn out. So it's still like exciting. It's not boring. Like if you already knew like exactly how your life was going to go, like that would be actually really boring and that would probably suck balls, man. Like if you knew exactly how the rest of your life was going to pan out, like that would probably suck and it would probably be boring. But it's like the fact that you are stupid and you don't know what's going to happen in the future, that's what gives rise to the illusion of randomness. That's what I call it. The illusion of free will, randomness, whatever you want to call it. Like the illusion that anything can happen because that makes things exciting. That's what people want. That's like the cure to boredom. It's excitement or novelty. But anywho, let's get on to the next reason why determinism is depressing. So the last reason why free will is depressing is because it means you can't hate people. If you don't have free will, it's kind of harder to dislike people, to oppose people. Because again, I think it's human nature to want to oppose people, to want to villainize other people. We have these tribal instincts, like we have this us versus them mentality, like we identify with a tribe, whether that be like the libtard tribe, the conservatard tribe, the vegan tribe, oh, I'm a vegan, I'm a carnivore, I'm a libtard, I'm a this, I'm a that, whatever. We all have these values that we have and we like to oppose people who have differing values. Like, oh, I'm an atheist, so I hate Christian people. Like everyone has something that they believe in, and usually they like to oppose people who believe in the opposite. Like that's just human nature. That's why we're racist. Like the reason why we were racist in the past, and we were prejudiced against people who looked different than us, who had different skin color, who had different values and beliefs. Like throughout human history, there's so many people who've been discriminated based on like their religion, their race, their ethnicity, etc. And it's like, how do you explain that phenomenon? I explain it by, well, it's just human nature. It's because, again, the reason we have our desires is because they ultimately helped us survive. If you were just nice to everyone, like that's not favorable for your survival. If you were just friends with everyone, like, oh, I want to make friends with this alligator, it's like, oh, then you're dead. But the reason why this is bad is because you know that other people don't have free will. So whenever someone does something bad, it's not really their fault. And the reason why you don't want to hate on them is because while we have this sense of tribalism and this us versus them mentality, like we want to villainize people. That's why in modern media, there's always like a protagonist and then there's the antagonist, the villain. Why would they include a villain in every single movie? Well, maybe not every single movie, but like most movies have like a villain because that's what humans want. We want to antagonize other people. We want to hate people. It's like you may not want to admit that, but it's like you literally want to hate people. It makes you happy. I think if everyone was just a nice person, you'd be upset because like, who am I supposed to hate now? And that's what free will, it's like, if people don't have free will, it's like, it kind of makes it hard to hate the villain when you know that the reason that they are the way that they are is because of, oh, they got bullied or something. So it's harder to oppose them. So I feel like the best way to cope with this is just to take your anger out in a punching bag. So if you hate a person, but you also don't want to criticize them or punch them in the face because you know that they don't have free will, they couldn't have done otherwise or whatever. Then you can just get a picture of them, tape it to a punching bag, and then go to town on that thing, and boom, problem solved. That's how you cope with that. So that one probably isn't that depressing. Like, oh, I can't hate people because they don't have free will. Whatever, man, it doesn't fucking matter. And it's like, you can still hate people, like, just because someone doesn't have free will. Like I said earlier, it's like, I believe in fairness. If you're a fucking asshole and you're enjoying yourself and causing other people to suffer, then they deserve to be punched in the face. Tit for tat. But also, you can't judge someone, because someone might seem like they're enjoying themselves, but that doesn't necessarily reflect what's on their interior, because someone could put on a facade like, oh, there's that one cliche of like, oh, there's a smile on the outside, but inside I'm depressed and sad or whatever. So like, just because someone looks like they're enjoying themselves, you can't be the one to make that decision. Like, oh, look at them, they're enjoying themselves. We gotta take them down a notch. So I think that we should just be nice to everyone. Like, you never really know what's going on inside someone's head. You can't make that assumption. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it for today's video. So make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think about this whole free will dilemma. Let me know in the comments down below. Blah, 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 blah. I don't give a fuck.